Okay, so before we get going, hit that like and subscribe. That is very important because, as I've said before, YouTube shows ads on my videos and they don't give me any of the revenue. So, there's where we're at. Alright, let's talk about this rig real quick. Oh, and if you use my links for Amazon or eBay or something like that, I do get a small amount of money, so that would really be much appreciated. So let's talk about this rig. This is the BTC 837 boards that you see all over eBay. This particular one happens to be CPU 847. I do have the other version of this board, which uses another Celeron. It is the 1037U, which is slightly faster. Here's the caveat. For some reason, the 1037U, I had trouble with my AMD 6600 XTs. So I moved those to the 847U. And I've got, in this board, I've got 3 6600 XTs, a 6700 XT, which is linearly about the same performance per watt, so cool. And I've got a 6600, two 1660s, and a 1050 Ti. So that's kind of what this video is about. I've achieved 8 GPUs in the BTC S37. So a little bit about this picture before we get too far along. You can see all those GPUs in there and pretty much identify what they are. That one running without the shrouds, the 1050 Ti, which I'm probably pushing within an inch of its life. It's a Zotac. I took the shroud off because to me it kind of blocks some of the air, especially if you're at 100% on the fan, which I think I'm at 95. Nope, I have the fan at 100, and it's still running like 67. Not too bad. I mean, it's kind of, even if you cut it to like 95, it still gets kind of hot sometimes. I think everybody's seen these boards before. I took the fan off of the far left side, and that is sitting on the power supply of the Dell. I don't have that part number. If anybody's interested, just ask in the comments. It's running, I believe, from Lolminer's the XB15. Let me get that part number real quick. The XB15, I believe, is, let me just see. There's an updated version for the Dell power supplies, and I believe these are for 12th generation X15B. I'm sorry, so it's the Lolminer X15B, formerly called the X15, and running the Dell, I believe, the 12th generation power supplies. Sorry, don't have one handy. Again, if you're super curious, leave a comment, and I'll answer it. I'll ask. That breakout board, it's on the 1100 watt version of the power supply. There's a 750. I'm running the 1100 watt. That board breaks out into 16 cards and 6-pin to 8-pin cables. Obviously, there's an extra connection for the 1050 Ti, but what happened is one of the other cards, I think it's a 6700, that card requires a second connector. So every single one of those are in use. Now, if you've got cards in your rig that require 2 inputs, I guess you're going to have to split them. You probably don't need, in the BTC S37, honestly, you probably don't need all of the 8 connectors on the motherboard connected to the power supply because they are tied together. Personally, I feel like you're probably okay with like maybe 6. Maybe less. I mean, as long as the cables don't get hot, that's kind of my benchmark, so you could try 4, which would deliver 300 watts to the board. In theory, if you're pulling over 75 watts, the card might need that much power. Like, I guess you could need 8 times 75. Honestly, this particular board and card combo, I think, is running about 760 watts total at the wall with one of those little cheap power meters. So if you've got a question about that, ask in the comments. So that's the reason for the 2 fans on the right. Those are just sitting on top of that Dell power supply, keeping it cool because it has that tiny internal fan, which seems to spin slower than the HP. I've got another HP power supply. I've got a 750 HP power supply running my other BTC S37. That one tends to run a lot cooler. I don't know what, I mean, obviously it's drawing less power, but anywho. And then I've got another little 40 millimeter fan kind of blowing up in through the power supply, because on a Dell server, you would have air flowing through there. That's just the airflow path for the servers. On that note, if you've got a 720XD, or if you're interested in one of those, these use the same power supplies, and that's what I have. So guess what? I have one or two, I forget how many, spare power supplies, so I can drop it into my mining rig, or I can drop it into my server as needed. Which my server runs some, I'm running some storage, file sharing, which it's kind of a break even, honestly, for the power. It just kind of pays for the power. And then I've got a full Chia node spun up, which honestly I don't think the money is there to spend too much time on that, but I have the node up, I've got some plots, whatever. That's kind of just what I'm playing with. Alright, so this next slide here, let's take a look at that. Not really a whole lot to see, just a shot showing the load average and the what I'm getting out of it. The second ETH display there is my son's card, who's gone into the military, so I stuck his card in my rig, and he's going to get all the money from that, which I think I'm doing about the same ETH hash as it was on his machine, but really pushing that card, and so you see a couple of invalids there. But as we'll see in the next slide, this machine has a pretty good uptime. But back to the one of the points, that load average with that little 1.1 gigahertz processor, see, you're fine. And you only need 4 gigs. Let me double check. I think this one actually has 8, but out of the 8, there's 5.4 gigabytes free. So HiveOS is only using 2.6 gigabytes. You really don't need any more than a 4 gigabyte stick. Yeah, the 15-minute load average is 0.55 with a CPU temp of 50. So these boards are fine for running HiveOS. This is all you need. Anything, honestly, more than this is overkill. And the board and CPU and the cooling fan is all out there. All you need to add is a SSD, which you can put an MSATA on it, and a RAM stick. So I think you're looking at like another 40 bucks. So you should be all in on this board. Everything, processor, RAM, SSD, CPU, cooling fan, all in should be well under 250, which just about until recently couldn't get a processor for 250. And guess what? These boards only draw like maybe 20 watts total. So the lowest performing current Celeron that you're going to buy that's like socketed for standard boards are probably going to you're just going to lose money on the power extra that you burn, I'm guessing. TDP on these processors is like 17 watts, so whole board 20 or 25 at the outside is not going to be that much, because it's just a little MSATA and a little stick of RAM otherwise. Anyway, so let's look at the next slide here. Alright, here is the mixed rig. As you can see, that's just what I said earlier. I suppose I could have just waited to show you that. Those are all the different video cards and brands I'm running. So you probably will have great success if you just have different GPUs that you want to slap in this thing. All slots are filled. All slots are running, and the uptime as of this recording is like 27 hours. So I feel like this is pretty stable. So the only errors I have are that the 2 invalids, and I think it's just overclocked just a teeny bit too much. And here, just for reference, are the all the information, like the load averages, temps, and what this board is using, etc., etc. And again, I will link to that SSD. That 60 gigabyte MSATA is like 20 bucks. So get one. I think that's about it. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. If you have questions or constructive comments, leave those in the comments, and I will get back to you. I do respond. Thanks again. Please subscribe. See ya.